Hello, my name is Shaahidah Prather. I'm a professional coach, heart first expert founder, and speaker. I want to start today with talking about think outside of the box, understanding how the mind works. When you think outside of the box, let's start off with asking you, what comes first to your mind when I say think outside of the box? Now, many would say it means having imagination or being creative, but I'm going to take it to another level now. That's right. Let's forget thinking outside of the box and let's just get rid of the box. That's right. Let's just kick it to the curb. And now it's time to embrace who you are, embracing your individuality. Now, Albert Einstein quoted, "The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination." And what comes to your mind when you hear that message? Now, I partially disagreed with this message. Why? Because I see knowledge and information as two different things. Because information can be to inform, but it may or may not be accurate. So knowledge is to know, knowing right from wrong, having knowledge or ability to separate valid from the invalid. And it involves applying critical rational thinking, which is another side of intelligence. Vocabulary and language itself is history that had to be created by past scholars. So this leads us back to being creative with language or utilizing our linguistic intelligence. Let's not forget to have fun and create new language in the process. I feel that having both knowledge and imagination is what certainly solidifies intelligence. Now, what about the 10% brain myth? Let's go further into that. I'm sure some of you have already heard of this myth. Um, Now, Albert Einstein quoted, "We only use about 10%," but Morgan Freeman stated we can use up to 100%, and this could have been to support the filming, however. Now, and the automatic assumption would be that they are both speaking in general. So I would disagree with Albert and Morgan when referencing this statement. But let me explain to you why. Studies have found that during REM, or rapid eye movement sleep hours, the brain may also be active at 20 to 25%. So Albert Einstein and Morgan Freeman never specified what age range, what time, gender, race, or if they were even referring to sleep or awake hours. So based on that, we can't really even argue, right? We can't, it's more neutral. We might as well say this is a neutral argument. Um, Now, if you ever looked at this like pattern, the gamma or the beta, alpha, theta, delta, if you ever became more familiar with that, you'll notice that during the gamma is this is more like your active thought. This is more like when you're consistent, but you're not that active. You may be consistent with your thoughts, but you're not very active. You don't have as much of the energy. But then when we go all the way down to the delta, this is when you're in your sleep dreaming state. This is when you are really moving a lot. So meaning that you're scattered, you're everywhere, you're bouncing up and down like a energizing bunny. However, you are also, scattered. Your mind is scattered, distorted. It's more like in that area. But then when you're like, I would say the most effective part is when you're in the alpha stage. This is more like you're relaxed, reflective. This is more like when you're more consistent, and you're also as not only consistent, more likely you are highly active. This is more like in the highly active period. So the brain itself works like an integrated complex system with multiple parts. Though Albert Einstein never even mentioned what region of the brain that he was referring to. He did have a habit of revealing and humbling himself, referring to many of his quotes would be referring to himself as well, I would believe. But who's to say that he wasn't referring to the older generation? Though I encourage you to not only challenge the genius, but you feel free to challenge me as well. Though I do agree with Morgan Freeman that we have access to 100% of the brain, but I do not agree that we have ability to apply every part of the brain or use up to 100% altogether. Now, there has been no evidence to support this theory as well. However, he never specified if he was just referring to 100% as one large sum or calculating the brain as a collection group of sum as a whole when referencing 100%. For how much of it has ability to function may vary in portion or by parts of the brain, hours, age, health, genetics, you name it. So I'm just saying that realistically, the human brain was not designed to be able to function at 100%, just as the human body alone was not created 100% as perfect. For example, we are not created as perfect human beings. We all know that, right? So, I mean, if it were the case, we would all look, act, and think alike, right? So, but this is not the case. And God just happened to create us as imperfect human beings, and this is what makes us perfect, right? But what happens? It's just like having a computer chip that stores data. The more information it receives, the more it is likely to delay and become overwhelmed. It's like a battery. Think of yourself like a battery. You're a battery, and your brain is more likely to burn out before even reaching 100%. Or it'll even crash. It'll crash like a computer that may require more storage space. And result, this leads us to the monster ball, stress, which is more likely to impact the hippocampus or the contextual memory, spatial, and episodic areas. This alone prevents us from even reaching beyond the 80%, 85% mark. Because stress also leads to impairment on memory and learning. Just as everyone's body and health status is different, it's important to understand your brain and how each part may function differently. So it's just basically good to be familiar with your blood type so you can eat right for your blood type on a health level, as well as understanding the way your body functions overall, every part of your body, from your mind to from your head to your every part. Though memory Now, when we're talking about that, though memory, the visual and other areas could also be improved or reversed. This could be done through meditation, hypnotherapy, and self-hypnosis. Now, Qigong and yoga exercise, I love the Qigong and yoga exercise, by the way, but this has also been proven to reduce or prevent Alzheimer's. This leads us back to placing our minds in a relaxed mode or in a sleep state, which could even exceed the 25% as we become more familiar and intuitive with how our mind works. Now, this increases the heart rate, blood circulation, memory, and even spreads our process of thinking. This is when our brain is able to perform at the highest capacity. So take note, take note, take note. But this leads us to another question. Could we be more conscious during REM and more unconscious during awake periods? Could we be more conscious during sleep, REM, and more unconscious during awake periods? This is a question to ask yourself, because it's almost as if if we're in a very sleep state, basically, where we're not active, we actually are less likely to be active because of our inconsistency. But no, let me take that back. We have the energy boost, yes, when we are asleep, in deep sleep. However, our energy, even though that's very high and it has ability to, speed, it happens to also be ineffective only because of the fact that it's not as organized. It's just scattered and running everywhere when we're in that very deep sleep. So that's why it's good for us to be like right in the middle. So, this is where I want to say now, based on those facts, I would say it's better to be somewhere between the beta alpha stage, I would say, because you're now talking about your alert working side, and as well as your relaxed reflective. And you want to combine meditation too, because the only way that meditation can be ineffective is when you're in the theta, which is more like you're drowsy, you don't have those your clear thoughts, your thoughts aren't as clear. So I would say your best area is the alpha and the beta. You're more likely to do well in those areas. Now, our brains function different alone to begin with. We are all different people. We all know that. So certain areas may be strong while other areas are weak. Yet the more relaxed our body and mind, the more we are able to increase airflow or oxygen, increase our blood flow, re-energize, and transfer our energy in multiple areas at a faster rate. At this stage, we are more centered to have clarity in memory, spatial organization, and we're more efficient in areas that we may typically delay. Now, by understanding how your body and brain works, you can also find which learning style works best for you, such as kinesthetic, which is like hands-on. You have your spatial, which is like visual. You have your audio, which is like sound or music. And you have your linguistic, which is more like verbal writing. You have your logical, which is numerical, numbers, mathematics. Then you have interpersonal, which is more like solitude, like if you're working alone. And then you have your interpersonal, which is like social, you're working in a group. But I feel like we all have already applied every type of learning. All of this, we have already done it. You have done it already. All of this, you have done it now, and you're capable to do it all. All these learning styles is something that will work for everyone. The only difference is it may vary in the individual for what may work better. You see what I'm saying? So in certain areas, you may say be more dominant to find what's learning style. And that's based on overall understanding your brain, overall understanding your body. So that all comes back to that. Now, it has been reported that when you teach an infant as early as 2 years old how to use language, you are able to increase their intelligence or memory by approximately 40%. Also, this is good to know, by the way. Also, learning a second language or being multilingual may significantly help to increase memory and some learning skills as well. So based on this, I would recommend, I would say, you might want to start, teaching your children everything be by 2 years old, basically. You might want to start practicing even learning a second language. Shoot. Even as early as 2 years old. Okay, that might make things a little too complicated. Okay, fine, that's fine. But it doesn't hurt to at least try. Give it a try. Give it a try. Never know. Never know. Um, so, try to do everything before preschool. Let's just say that. You might make a big difference. You never know. Though I would say it's during infancy through teenage years that we are the most imaginative and the most active in the visual cortex region, which tells us that this is the period where we are the most imaginative. I do feel like there's certain parts of the imaginative that starts to also decline because we still have parts of our imaginative side even when we're older. But once we hit about, say, that middle teenage years, you already have the visual cortex part that is already shutting down. It's already declining. So you still have your imaginative, however, as you get older. It's just that you don't have as much. So that's why I said um, we have some variations that we're already seeing declining once you hit a certain age, and then as you get into your, like I said, at 21, you're seeing another part. So that's why I said, why not take advantage? This is the most imaginative area. Now we're talking about the creative intelligence. This is a time to take advantage around the early age, the infancy, up to your teenage years. So should we encourage more people to even say go to college even and attend college and even do all the schooling and complete their schooling even at our teenage years, if that's the case. And perhaps homeschooling, it won't even be a bad thing as well, as long as you can have it accredited. You never know. But I'm just saying, I have seen where some students have done that. They have done that, and next thing I know, they're completed their college by 15. I know that sounds silly, but I'm just saying this is just an example. It's very rare. However, so the question is, what works for one may not work for others, though. So the question is, what is more effective, homeschool or college? That's a big question. Maybe it just depends on the instructor, perhaps, or perhaps it depends on the student, how disciplined. So I guess all that has to, be questioned, right? So now I will say how we each function may be influenced also by gender, age, health, and biological factors. This was already something I wanted to remind you again. It may vary among individuals. Now, it is due to one's overall DNA makeup, their health status, and one's environment. These are key things to also say. Now, Maya Angelou also quoted, "If you are always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be." That's right. I love this quote. If you are always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. That means that, you know what? It's time to embrace yourself. Be abnormal, be eccentric, be oddball, be the weirdo. Yes, that's right. You are amazing just as you are. Now, I will say that the Asians, being the original race or group with 47 chromosomes, though, they are more likely to differ in comparison to the overall body development when we're comparing it to every other culture. Though genetic mutation in the number of chromosomes may result in some variations as well. Like the more chromosomes added, the more one is likely to be at risk for health. Though some may also be mentally impaired in certain parts of the brain that may be highly functional in other areas. In those born conjoined or having craniopagus, which is a rare condition, they may experience even more complications and are more likely to die before even reaching maturity. You ever wonder why Asians happen to have 47 chromosomes and yet everyone else happen to have 46? However, when we're talking about having this genetic mutation or having interracial relationships, now we don't know because these chromosomes number may vary. There are some that even have less chromosomes nowadays. But this is how, this is where the origin comes from. That's what I'm saying. When we're talking about the origin, we're talking about typically we're looking at 47 chromosomes from the Asian cultures and 46 from other. But like I said, sometimes it may lead to some health complications if there is some the more chromosomes number, and as well as if you see like something missing. Sometimes you're wondering why someone might have 44 chromosomes. This is not supposed to be a common thing. The common is to have 46 chromosomes if you're anything outside of being the Asian culture, outside of the Asian culture. So that's what makes them different. You ever notice how they also happen to have this physical appearance that seems to be the most unique in comparison to any other culture? You ever thought about that? Ever looked at things and looked at them in that way? Well, I'm not going to I'm not going to go deep into that, but I just think sometimes I just want to kind of challenge you to really look at what I'm saying and think about it. So now, there has been some studies that even reports that children with this condition, the craniopagus condition, they're more likely to share the same conscious because it increases the chance for the thalamus being connected together, which works like a neural switchboard. So it's kind of like having, like sharing the same mind, the thoughts. You ever imagine yourself being in that state? Ever wondered what it would be like if you had like this twin? Well, everyone wants a twin, right? Well, you know what? If I had a twin, I would lose my mind. I would tell you this right off the bat. I don't think it would work. I would be excited, but then on the other hand, I would be frustrated. I'd be like, "Oh my God, I can't do it. No, I can't." So imagining having someone to share my mind, oh my goodness, I would definitely, I could not even last. I could tell you this off the bat. But I praise and I have much respect to those. And you know what? I have appreciation though for those who are unique. No matter what it is, no matter what their background, no matter what their differences or their disability, whatever may be the case, I have appreciation for their uniqueness. So instead of seeing them as a problem, I would rather see what makes them a solution. I'd rather look at what their uniqueness is so that I can see how they're able to apply their other parts of themselves in the ways that we are not. You see what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's always those uniqueness that they may have that we may not have ability, and it might make them special or have ability to do something that we're not capable to do. And that's how we should see everyone that's and as their own individuality, embracing their individuality. That's what it's called, embracing everyone's individuality. Why not, right? And you learn from someone. And you know what? I think a lot of people don't open themselves to even learn about other cultures. How limited our knowledge would be. How much we would be limiting ourselves already if we just said, I don't want to know about anyone but ourselves. You see what I'm saying? I think it's good that I have that cultural awareness. I like to say, I want to get to learn about the Asian culture, the Hispanics, the Caucasians. I want to learn about even people who look like me but happen to be from another country. I want to learn about everybody. I want to learn about the Native Americans. I want to learn about everyone. So, I'm not just about learning about myself. I want to even learn about people that's older and the younger of different religions. I want to learn about every politician. I want to learn about everybody. Why am I going to just limit myself and learn about just someone that shares the same background? How limited my knowledge and thinking would be if I had started to just think like that. And I encourage you to do the same. Because how else are you going to call yourself the most intelligent or the most advanced if you're not even expanding your knowledge in your mind? You see what I'm saying? You see the direction I'm going? So that's why I encourage you to expand your knowledge, expand your mind. This is a part of what this is all about. Yes. Preach. Yes. Okay. So, and the medical experts also mentioned that at 21 or the early 20s, the brain is expected to decline in contextual memory, spatial, and episodic area. So that already tells you that if you're somebody who's a college student, then you better take some lumosity or something, at an early time. You might as well go ahead and start as soon as you go to freshman course, right? Freshman or sophomore, you better start kicking that in, that lumosity or something. You better keep your brain, training your mind, exercise your mind because you already are declining. So you need to realize that. You better stop waiting until you're 30 or 40. You better do it while you're 20 and even earlier if you can. But you know what? You know what's interesting is that even with this statement, I have actually found out that even someone is 70 years old, someone in their 70s can be just as efficient as someone who was in their 20s and in their process of thinking. I found this interesting. Now, reason why, which is why I don't agree with people when they say 10%. So that's why I said a reason why is because I feel like with a proper eating, sleep, and exercising our body, and not only our body, but our mind, we are capable to defeat the odds. We can make it happen. Yes. Okay. It's possible. Yes. So, this is where I feel like, that's good news to know that you can actually do it. However, it's also dependent on the individuality, the makeup, and all that. So it's good to know as well. But just to remind you that based on that, this also tells you that while we have other areas that may decline or deteriorate, other parts are more likely to develop, which is a good thing to know too. But what we need to know is, well, what other parts is likely to develop? This is questions we should be asking ourselves. Or is it going to even help us to progress? Or is it going to help us to still advance? Or do we have to suddenly be creative and think differently all of a sudden? Because I know of a woman who was even injured mentally. She was injured. She went through this injury, and suddenly she found other unique ways to apply her skills because she was this known as this very intelligent woman, and she was felt so limited after having this brain injury. Imagine having a brain injury after being perceived as one of the most intelligent people, and suddenly going through a brain injury. Can you imagine that? You would probably be very depressed, right? So you need to find out how to make use of what you have. And there is always going to be that other part of you that reveals that intelligence. You just need to find out and understand how each brain functions all together. That's why it's important to know. But now I'm going to talk to you though further because we're going to stop, all the chattering. I want to talk to you more about comparing the male versus female brains. Let's talk more about that because I know there's been a debate too about this discussion, like especially when I'm talking about the gender, comparing the man and the women. Not when I talk about this and the guys listen, they're like, "Oh my God!" Just as long as you make us sound better, like intelligent, just as long as you make us sound more intelligent, you're okay with me. So this is really how they, the direction they want me to go. But otherwise, it makes me sound like a feminist, right? So, but I'm just going to tell you just the facts. So this is just the facts. The males tend to be more left brain, while women tend to be more right brain. Now, where they may vary is men have a larger prefrontal lobe by about 8% and are wired from the front to the back of the brain. They are logical, organized, critical thinkers, and natural problem solvers. So they make better mathematicians, accountants, actuarians, whatever you name it. While women are more wired or more interconnected from the right to the left hemisphere. They're not only able to switch sides and maneuver through the task, but have ability to transfer their energy in multiple areas at ease and create more balance in comparison. So every woman is different now, just as every male is different. However, with the women, it is more common for most to switch between the right and the left side. Now, this makes her natural when it comes to empathy, multitasking, creativity, communication, and social skills. So they do make excellent teachers, social workers, and human resource managers, you name it. Um, Now, I do want to share an example when I talk about being a woman and men. Like, so I just want to give you an example, okay? So what if I said, okay, so the husband is in the picture, and so he said, honey, we have a problem. We have a problem here. But you know what? I'll take care of it because I always take care of it. I normally take care of it, so I'll take care of it, okay? And here it is, I have the manual, and the manual says to do this, follow one. Number one says to do this, and number two says do that, and number three says do that. So I'm just going to follow these instructions, honey, and I've got it now. Okay, I put the pieces together. I was able to figure out the problem and put the piece together. So now we have the problem solved. Yes, yes, we got the problem solved. But the woman will come into the picture and say, oh, well, that's impressive, honey. You are right. You are the Mr. Fix It. You are the problem solver. But you know what, honey? I have a better way. I want to make it so that next time you don't have to go through that whole manual and it doesn't have to take so long for you to do it. I want to be more efficient. So I'm going to give you even another way to do it. Okay? Honey, you show me this way. Now I'm going to show you one, two, three, or four more ways how to do this. And we're going to make this so that it's even more efficient. So this is where the woman will come out and show her creative side. So they both have their intelligence, but the man happens to be more natural at having and having that consistency with his decisions, having a plan that's more organized, and just following the instructions and following, like I said, solving the problem. While the woman is more like, I'm kind of back and forth with my decision. I'm contemplating more. I'm only because she may be more complicated, while the man is more simple. The woman is more like, I'm just not sure about this because I might just say I want to be on the left side today. Oh, I want to be on the right side. While the man is more like steady when it comes to which side he's on. So that's just saying that, he's more likely to basically be on the left side. Let's talk about being the brain of technology, though. Let's talk about that. What does that mean to you? Be the brain in technology, but don't let technology be the only brain. That's my saying. And the reason why I say this is in today's time, technology is growing more and more advanced. Thanks to every genius out there, technology is performing all of the inventory calculations and will eventually do all the work for us. It may even have ability to think and function as human beings. Though as technology grows more advanced, this may be an advantage. Yes, it will be an advantage, but it will still miss that human element. And employers will more likely become more lazy or mentally inactive. Think about it. Can you imagine if all the computers were just talking for you and all doing all the calculations, and then you said, "Oh, well, I don't have to add, or I don't have to figure out that information because the computer takes care of it for me." Next thing you know, you will be like, "I don't need to hire anyone. The computer does all the work for me." You know. So that's my direction I'm going. If you see the trend we're going, that's the direction we're looking at. For example, there are more banks and business are doing virtual office or online business, and more are expected to follow this trend in the future. As we grow more advanced, you'll notice where our mind is going. Yes, we are bringing the brain and technology, but eventually what happens is that genius, as it goes into the technology, you'll start to wonder why, you have everyone doing Skype interviews and nobody's no longer even stepping outside. They're all doing everything online. And you're wondering why they have the machines and the computers talking instead of the human beings talking all of a sudden. No one wants to even communicate. They say, let me just let the computer talk for you. So I find it interesting. But, we never know. It's up to you which direction you decide to go. I just feel like that's the way direction will go if we continue to tell technology to do everything. Um, However, it may be more cost effective, and I can see why some employers would go this direction for that reason. It saves more money, saves time. It does put employees at risk, though, for those who are looking for work. I mean, that means that they're less likely to have secured employment, and they may want to prepare their career towards entrepreneurship, the realtor, insurance, accounting, investing, or even financial planning or having their own business. Those psychologists, teachers, attorneys, and physicians should also expand their knowledge in the business field. It will also continue to be in demand and provide more leverage, grow even more competitive throughout the years. Now, I do recommend teachers prepare themselves to open up or invest in schools and think outside of the box, since there are not only more teachers needed, but more schools. If you think about it, we do need more schools as well. There's more schools that need to be. So it's just a part of this thinking or stepping outside of the box too. Um, Now, I will say though that I want to go into another level now. I want to say, imagine having no parent or teacher. Now, we're going to go in that direction. Imagine having no parent or teacher. That's right. No matter how old, what gender, race, or socioeconomic status you fall under, you have your strengths and weakness. And whether you're a PhD graduate or a high school dropout, you have a lot of potential in areas that you should continue to advance your skill. Now, you can never know so much you know it all, nor know so little you know nothing at all. This is something I also agree with. But imagine life without having a teacher. We're going to go back to that now. Imagine a life without having a teacher, a parent, physician, attorney, or financial planner. What would you do? Like really let it sink in and ask yourself, what would you do? I want you to really think about this now. Really think about it. I'm going to give you a minute. Let me think about it. What would you do? Because you have to really think about it. We were fortunate, obviously, back then, right? I mean, not back then. Back then, we weren't as fortunate. Like had more appreciation, basically. We had more appreciation back then. So think about the orphans, though, that are not fortunate to have a parent. Though those with one or two parents highly involved is more likely to excel in the early phase of the life and go to one of the best colleges like Yale, Brown, Harvard, you name it. Now, even those who have a mentor, coach, or someone that is highly involved in their life are more likely to be disciplined and motivated to perform exceptional or better than their peers. For someone that has never experienced being in this position, though, it may be difficult to even imagine. However, I wanted to challenge you with this question as a reminder that many were a lot more disciplined and creative and ambitious in the past. So challenge yourself to think outside of the box and question what makes sense and what doesn't. For example, if A plus B equals 3, then we can say 3 minus B equals A, right? But if 7x equals 14, then 6x equals 18 doesn't make sense now, does it? Well, let's talk about something else now. Let's go into how Africans are perceived. Why Africans Americans have not been perceived as intelligent. Well, let me tell you a little bit about that. There was a story now about 50 years ago Just to take you back in time. I'm taking you back in time now. Please forgive me. I'm taking you back in a time. I'm taking you back in history. Don't worry. I'm not going to, go too far deep into the Black History Month. This is not Black History Month, but I am going to make it a brief Black history right now. So just bear with me. Follow me, okay? 50 years ago, it was evident and more common for African Americans to be disciplined, and anyone that was fluent in language showed a sign of creativity or thought outside of the box was perceived as a threat. Some have become inventors of history, but it was years of fear, severe abuse, and abandonment that prevented many from progressing or advancing to the next level. Now, unfortunately, the slave mentality or attitude carried on to the next level, the next generation, because it led to years of depression and unreleased emotions. Now, it did delay some from reaching their ultimate potential because they placed more emphasis on blaming Caucasians, comparing themselves and belittling each other rather than supporting and uplifting each other. And it didn't help matters improve for some that may have been surrounded by poverty, hatred, abuse, violence. Think about that. This was also within their own homes. Not only did they have to deal with it from the outside, but it was also within their own home. So imagine having all of that. Now, this may be difficult, like I said, if you've never been in their shoes. But their past and how they have been perceived became a negative reinforcement for many and the opposite for others. So that means that it might have been negative things, a negative perception that could have influenced them to automatically say, I'm supposed to be like this. This is the way I am. While to others, they say, I want to get outside of that box. That was those individuals that said, I'm tired of hearing the same message. I want to step outside of the box and challenge it. So those were others that said, I'm going to turn the tables around. For example, Obama, he was one of those people that said, I'm going to turn the tables around. For example, Michelle Obama, because let's not just give Obama the credit now. You don't want me to go that direction, right? It's woman that makes the man, of course, but I'm not going to go deep into that. But now we think and act by how we are often perceived. That's the message that you want to take in. This is actually true based on what I just told you. We think and act by how we are often perceived. By the way, okay, so we just given you two examples. Yes, I just gave you two examples. That's all I did. I'm not going to go deep into the history because trust me, there is a lot of scientists and inventors, Black history. Yes. But I'm not, like I said, this conversation is not to go about Black history. Now, if you want to learn more about that, you can also review this on my website to find more details. But now, I just want to go further now. We're going to keep moving forward now. So as racial and gender barriers still exist, it has improved, and there are a lot more opportunities being offered today in comparison to the past. I will say that in the past, African Americans were split up from their families during slavery, so they may have been influenced by, and they may have even become isolated or being alone. Attending church was one way they could feel reconnected and expand their social life. In addition to African Americans being the most single race, however, they were also more likely to perform in solitude. While those opposite of them, like Caucasians, Hispanics, Asians, just to name some, they were more likely to have extended relationships, performing in groups. Now, doesn't that make sense? This results in a higher success rate for having secured employment or being an established business owner. Hispanics praise each other and aim to create a family environment. Think about it. Think about it. You look around. How many African Americans are saying, let's come on, team up and work together? Come on, guys, let's do it. Think about it. How many single women did you see out here? How many single African American women do you see out there, right? I mean, I'm just giving you the reality check. You see a lot of African American women that happen to be a single mother, right? Think about it. Think about how many people are single. They walk alone, they're single, and I'm not trying to, like I said, this is not to make them look, less or anything. I'm just speaking it like it is. You see so many African Americans that are standing alone. They are single moms, single working by themselves or trying to. Now, I will say that some are taking tips, however. Some are taking tips, yes. And there are some more that is growing and they become working more as a diverse group or they're working and joining other African Americans. And however, they do stand as a minority and we stand as a minority, yes. So it does make a difference. But I'm just saying, if you look at the Caucasians, look at Hispanics, look at Asians, they're all like, come on, guys, we got this. Let's work together. Come on, we got this. Let's work together. So I'm just saying it makes a difference. We all should have that same attitude. But it doesn't hurt to also diversify. Come on, let's work everyone together. Put all the different colors inside. Put all the different differences and all the shades, every color. Let's come on together. We are even more effective when we come together than we decide to separate ourselves. And apparently, some people don't realize that until later. But the Japanese saying also goes, 3 minds is better than one. The Asian cultures, promotes self-discipline, loyalty, and commitment. Now, this is something that I appreciate about the Asian culture because we already are aware of that. We already are aware of the self-discipline that they show as well in their own culture. They already have things that they have reinforced certain rules and laws. Like they make it almost like it's not even an option. It's an obligation. You see, in comparison to American laws, school laws, we are more flexible. We are way more flexible in comparison to the Asian culture. Asian schools, they don't play. They don't play. So this is why I say, that should probably explain why they happen to be also more advanced. And they do a lot, they do happen to also promote loyalty, commitment. Not only that, but discipline. That's the key thing. How do you think you're going to progress? It's already they already have that applied in their laws. They have it in their laws. So if we want to get to that level, what do? We just create a system, create the laws, and follow the same. Or we could even make it better. So we don't have to be alike. We can make it even more disciplined. So just something to think about. But now, I will say those who have already worked diligently alone and performed well in solitude are more likely to be twice as effective with a partner in comparison. Now, so understand that even though African Americans may have been used to being alone working in solitude, if they are able to find partners who have the same ambition, they are more likely to even be more effective, twice as effective, because they have already built enough time to work hard or work diligently on their own. You see what I'm saying? So they're going to have more of that energy, more of that energy to be more effective, even with having a team in comparison to someone who only used to do work with someone. You see what I'm saying? So now this message is meant to inspire and encourage those of all different backgrounds to work and put all of their minds together, though. Time has changed. I will say that time has changed to the point every culture may even experience the same struggles, challenges, and even the same success, because it's more so of an environmental factor and having support in their health status that makes all of the difference. So all of this has to be taken into consideration. Now, a genius without support and a plan is but another idiot stagnant. This is something that I also agree to. Because you can be somebody with a brilliant mind, a gifted mind, whatever you want to call it, but if you don't have the support, then nobody even knows who you are. What do you think? Who do you think? You see the direction I'm going? You don't have the support. No one knows your name. No one knows who you are. And no one wants to even help you carry the plan or execute the plan. Then what happens? You just become another name. Nobody knows. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? You just become what we call an idiot because nobody even knows your gift. Nobody cares to know. So that's the reason why it becomes that you're perceived as just another idiot, stagnant. So that's the message behind that. Steve Jobs even quoted, "It was Wozniak that helped to execute the plan." Steve Jobs actually met Wozniak, which is Steve Wozniak, back years way back in the past. And Wozniak was the one that created Apple II, right? By that. Steve Jobs just created Apple One, but when they first got together, they actually both were geniuses, both had this great relationship. But Wozniak is the one that had the connections. This is what Steve Jobs actually mentioned now. Wozniak was the one with the connections. Now, key thing is connection. So that means that in the past, when he first started, it was the connections that helped him to move to the next level. So even though he might have had this gift, he probably would have still carried it through, but we can't really say, or we can't say would it have happened as early as it did. You see what I'm saying based on that? However, I will give credit to Steve Jobs both and Wozniak, because Steve Jobs also decided to say goodbye, Wozniak. By the time he decided to create Macintosh, he ended up, even stepping up his game even more. He already was impressive, but he said, I'm going to take it up another notch. So now I have Macintosh, and, he created next. So everything was just moving, and this happened to be right before his death. So, so I applaud him for that. Impressive, impressive man. And I want to take you far back in time because I want to help you transcend your mind, combining the old with a new way of thinking. You can think like an attorney by researching and validating. Think like a banker. That's right. Think like a banker and organize your finances. That's right. Because imagine not having a banker. As I mentioned this to you before, imagine not having a banker. Now you have to organize your finances. If you're somebody who was in a financial debt, it's time to organize your finances. You're somebody who was probably buying groceries. Now I want you to think like a farmer, plant your own crops. Perhaps you're someone who was, trying to look for a house. Now I want you to think like a realtor and invest in property. Perhaps you're someone who was always looking for somebody else to, Maybe you were looking for someone who was an engineer, but now I want you to think like a builder by redesigning your home. I want you to think like a physician. Perhaps you're somebody who is suddenly ill. You don't know how you're going to make it by. Suddenly, you don't know if you're going to even survive the next day, right? It could be in a couple of years. You don't know how long you have to live. But I'm asking you and I'm challenging you to think outside of the box. Think like as if you were a physician. And I'm not telling you to perform treatments and everything. I'm telling you to think outside of the box and to do your best to not only wait for the doctor, but to re-examine yourself and to also take the time to perform careful evaluations, self-evaluations, as well as even finding out what works best for you and understanding your body well. It's just as much as a doctor or even more than a doctor. Your doctor shouldn't know everything about you and you not know nothing about yourself. You see what I'm saying? So this is more about getting to know your body even better than a doctor does. This is what I'm talking about when I say step outside of the box and utilizing your skills at every capacity. This will help you become the best at anything you set your mind to do. Whether you're a current student or a graduate, you can never stop learning or advancing your skills. Finally, I want you to ask yourself, who are you? Why are you here? And what are you doing that the next person isn't? Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, just go to the website at www.hartfordexpert.com to learn more. Thank you so much for your time and leave some comments for any feedback or questions. Thank you. Have a good day.